The Dauntless. Her vision wavers moments after sliding into the cushioned seat. The danger, the excitement, the sheer distraction as she tried to feed on the local axiom. The fact that Barnabas has the gall to sit right next to her. She takes a moment to rest her eyes as the door closes and puts a large amount of ablative armor and a working shield generator between her and whatever madness is outside. There may be madness inside with the humans here, but there's a little less, she thinks. She closes her eyes to try and sort out her mind. Specialist Barnabas says something, but she doesn't make it out. She'll get clarity in just a moment. She's in her apartment, naked for some reason, as a pair of hands reach around a prominent stomach and she can feel strong arms around her. The hands start reaching downwards too. She sits up in shock with a blush on her face. She's in a small room with taupe walls and a few small pieces of paper stuck to things. On the nightstand next to her is her communicator on top of a folded bundle of fresh clothing she does not recognize. There is a message on her communicator as she rises up from the bed and she checks it. It's a message from Specialist Barnabas asking that she message him when she's up and about. She glances around the small room again. The bits of paper are legible from a standing height. Bathroom, exit, lights, control panel under this wall panel. Very basic things, as if she were a child in need of help. She goes to the exit and opens the door, then immediately flinches back when she sees that there's a guard just outside. She closes it by reflex, having not been actually ready to deal with anyone in this state. "Is everything all right, miss?" the human on the other side of the door asks. "Yes, I just wasn't expecting you there." She lies and there's no response. Has he left? Is he planning something? Is there... She takes a deep breath and calms herself. If they wanted to hurt her, she wouldn't be waking up in a small guest room, unharmed and with a set of new clothing. Although on the thought of clothing, she feels grimy and distinctly unclean. She checks the bathroom and there's a few more indicators, ones that are almost insulting for how they seem to be judging her as an idiot. She knows what a toilet is. It's a fairly universal idea to use a seat with waterworks to flush away the filth. The shower is equally universal. Water is a cleansing substance. Although she makes a point of examining the soaps in the shower area. They're cheap but perfectly normal store-bought brands. No human chemicals here. One possible worry pushed aside, she checks the room all over for possible cameras. None. She then checks the sleeping chamber and finds none. Apparently, these humans like their privacy when sleeping or bathing, a shockingly reasonable attitude. Her clothes are rumpled, and although she can't really smell anything she wants out of them, they had landed in an open-topped aquarium after all. The fish do their business in there. Sure, it broke their fall and saved their lives, but it was filthy. The hot water pouring over her and the feeling of soap carrying away all of yesterday's problems is heavenly. She only resists singing in the shower by humming happily as she gets herself clean. The towel supplied in the room is huge, fluffy, and spotless. Soon enough, she's opening a package of off-the-shelf adjusting bras and fitting herself with one. The clothes they got her seem to be second-hand but thoroughly washed, with a slight scent of something, likely washed twice. Once in whatever hell chemicals humans use, and then a more reasonable tumble through a few cleaning cycles to clean off what they used to clean it in the first place. For all their faults as a race, a people that go to total war with filth and dirt can't be all bad. A reddish shirt, big, thick, and with a hood and a clear pouch pocket on the front. It's the oddest piece as it's a little tight around the chest, but baggy everywhere else. She assumes some smaller race used it as more of a walking blanket than anything, and it was grabbed because it perfectly offset her naturally green hair. The pants they got her are tight but not uncomfortable, but very warm and flexible, and there's a skirt in gray and blue to give her some more coverings. Her shoes aren't far away, and there's a bag for her clothing which she gratefully uses. She then taps at her communicator to check through it again now that she's feeling like a tread again, and not some crude hologram of one. If she can get a meal in, she'd be set. Her identity search came back several hours ago, likely not even a half hour after falling asleep. A Takra, not an Alfar. Vera Arlie Toss. She's been questioned and was apparently openly scouting a potential mate. Great. So that girl was just a distraction that the human noticed, and we have no idea who put the bomb in my car. Just great. She sits down on the bed and considers. The Takra was just a distraction and useless information. What is known? Both the council and now the investigation team into the event in question have been attacked with non-axiom-based explosives. These explosives have been made likely from a chemical printer, a very common, very old, and very widespread technology. Their suspect list is 5,000 articles long, and many people no doubt are curious about human technology, so a great number of them will be hobbyists and those with more curious bends as well as some degree of scientific knowledge. Before calling Barnabas, she checks the rest of her messages. She gets today off, because apparently it's standard procedure when someone's been actively dodging death outside of a war zone to give them time off. The fact that the message states that Barnabas isn't going to get his day off and will be teamed up with someone else has her send an emphatic hell no, which means she has just given up a day of paid leave she could have used to listen to music and read on her favorite chair. She'll make the human pay for it in some way. That done, she finally cues up a talk with Barnabas, and the sound of his communicator buzzing rings in her ear for a moment. "Wah!" comes a slow, low, exhausted voice from the other side. "I'm up and about. We have more work to do," she says, and there are several short and punchy words she does not recognize, followed by a frustrated groan. She's actually smiling by the time she hears him finish waking up. "All right, what's the timetable? I can be there in 5 if you really need me, but if you give me an extra 10, I can show up clean as well. Take your time," she says pleasantly. There's the sound of him clearing his throat of something and a swallowing noise. "There should be an R&R room not far from you. The guard outside your room will have directions. I'll be with you shortly," Barnabas says, and the call ends. "So I have to talk with more humans. Great," she says, more teasing than actually annoyed. "Ma'am?" the soldier asks as she opens the door again. "Which way to the nearest R&R room?" she asks, and he indicates to his left. "5 doors down on your right, snacks, entertainment, soft seats and such," he says, and she nods before heading off that way. Blank nothingness of a being aside there was good manners and businesslike attitude. Now that she's had more time to sleep, rest, and consider. Not to mention actually seeing how they react to sudden danger and such. It's not a lot easier, but she finds them considerably more understandable and reasonable. The room is full of plush chairs, several view screens all over, and vending machines. The machines have blatant warnings on them that they're stocked with human food and will not be safe for anything else to eat. Several buttons even have warnings for canidors and advise them to consult a biologist before trying these things. With that encouraging note, she sits down and outright sinks in a chair. There's a lever to the side, and pulling it has the entire thing unfold into what can be best described as a makeshift bed. That's a wonderful invention, and she lets out a sigh of satisfaction. In seeming no time, the door opens and Barnabas walks in wearing his casual clothing and stops to stare at her. "What?" she asks, annoyed already that she can't tell what's going through his head, especially as it clearly involves her. "Why are you wearing my shirt? Where did you even get that?" he demands, and she freezes. "Baggy everywhere but the breasts? Of course it's a man's shirt. Why didn't she think of that? But why is it his?" His deep groan and stepping backwards out of the room to look around is suspicious as all hell. "Excuse me a minute," and just like that, he's gone. She has no idea what to make of this sudden shift to the situation, but is already considering putting her clean body into dirty clothing makes her shiver in disgust. There's a sudden banging sound, shouting in a foreign language even as she rises up, the chair folding back up into its proper position as she does so. And a few moments later, Barnabas has returned with a fellow solider in a struggling headlock as he shrugs off multiple punches to the gut. "Miss Score, my associate has something to—" Barnabas's words are cut off as his opponent finally gets a good shot in and starts to wiggle away, only to be tackled around the midsection. They roll together with Barnabas ending up on the bottom, and the other man starts to run, only to slam onto his face as Barnabas grabs his foot and drags him back in, dodging and deflecting kicks the whole time. "You fucking tried to mess with me? I'll fucking—" The other man slips out of his boot and races away. Barnabas simply throws it after him and stomps back into the R&R room with an angry look on his face. He then walks up to Linda and pushes up on her hanging jaw as she has had a very hard time processing what the hell she was seeing. He quickly goes to one of the vending machine and gets a can of fluid with jagged green lettering on the side and drinks it down in a hurry. "What the hell was that all about?" she finally asks as he finishes. A woman wearing a man's clothes is an implication of an intimate relationship. Lines get blurry along family lines, and that lending clothing around is fairly common. But generally, if a woman is wearing an unrelated man's clothing, it's a sign they've been up to something that necessitates her having fresh clothing but only having his available. What conclusions does that draw? Her mind goes back to her dream for a moment and she can feel her cheeks burn. Yes, exactly. "Just keep the stupid shirt. It's too tight around the breasts. I'll never wear it," she replies, and he sighs. "Fine. When you're done with it, just bring it back to me and we'll not mention this again," he says as he heads to another vending machine and gets out a pastry. He all but inhales it. "Now, from what I understand, you've refused to take a day off and will be dealing with me for the entirety of the joint investigation. We've got a couple hours before we're officially on the clock. If you want to ask questions not pertaining to the case, now is the time. What happened to my car?" "Totaled. The basic frame is mostly in one piece but heavily compromised. Fixing it will cost more than just buying another second hand. We'll be using mine. I don't want to be driven around in some explosion-powered madness. I already told you that it's a refurbished air car. The only things about it you won't find anywhere else on Centris are the reinforcements to the frame and the hidden weapon caches on it. Also the fact that I'm not going to be getting into any kind of car without giving it a bomb check for a very, very long time. All right, first off, I want to... No, you acted just like an apex on protection orders regardless of your thoughts. How are you humans working? I mean, what are the different types? Why is your rank specialist? We're a mobile military base with army and branching out in a lot of ways. I'm a specialist because I'm very good with explosives, but there are special squads being made. Titan Squad, the Silent, the Ninjas, the Nerd Squad. There are more. But I'm becoming part of the professionals, a group of people who are focusing on getting advanced education up to a galactic standard. In my case, forensic investigations. Make sense? And how far into your education are you? Just 6 months. I've managed to pass a few early tests and have been approved for basic field work. I'm at a level where I won't be a hindrance on the field, but going out myself is still a few years away. And a few more tests away provided you pass them. She prods and he chuckles. Exactly now. He's cut off by a gurgling sound. I need to eat. We have food available that's safe for Tretz if you care to join me. That's acceptable.